Good morning, class. This is Dr. Willis. I wanted to take this time to not only do your weekend announcement, but really focus on that Module 4 topics identification paper. But really quick, before I get into that, be sure to get your responses to your peers within the discussion board. Get those completed. You should have already done that initial post. And in that initial post, all the discussion board was asking was for you to talk about your approach with academic research versus just a generic research process. So a lot of you already did that initial post. So continue to respond to your two peers and make sure you follow those response instructions. Now, let's move on to the topic identification paper. Now, the first part of that paper is simply to select a topic. And this is critical. We really want to spend some time and select a topic within your discipline area, within your program of study. So the best thing to do, the easiest thing to do is to go to Google and type in research topics in the creative writing field, research topics in the communications field, or whatever your subject area may be. You want to find out what has already been researched. That is the best way to choose a topic. Or you simply find something that's been pressing you, that you really want to find that information on within your research area. And then you just kind of form it into a research question or into a problem statement. And then you want to talk about why it's relevant. So let's say if your major is communication, okay? An example of a topic for communication could be the impact of social media on peer-to-peer communication, or the impact of cellular devices, texting, on the level of communication in society today within teenagers, something like that. So you can play with your topic. You can kind of flirt with different ideas related to your topic. And once you find that topic, you want to talk about the problem that you want to research about that topic. And you also want to explain why it's relevant. Now, once you do that, the next steps are important. You want to find 3 sources to support that topic. Okay? Now, two of those sources can be from anywhere. They could be newspapers, it could be magazines, it could be just an online article, an online subscription to something. Wherever you get those resources from, it really doesn't matter. But it needs to be 2 from any source. All right? Now, let's say when you find your first one, let's say you find your first one from National Geographic. All right. So you want to list the article title. Then you want to talk about who wrote the article. Then you want to talk about the writing within that article, how did they disseminate information? Did they ask any questions? What were the authors trying to convey? All right. Now, that's for your first 2 sources. So you find them from anywhere, talk about the writing, talk about the information, talk about the questions, talk about the overall gist of the articles. Now, for your last source has to be scholarly, peer-reviewed articles. This is critical, y'all, because this article will follow you the rest of the term. It needs to be a scholarly, peer-reviewed article. You could go to the Shapiro Library. You could go to Google Scholar. I sent you a link via the announcements that gives you several databases that will help you find scholarly, peer-reviewed sources. Now, the important thing is this. Hold up. I'll backtrack. When you find your scholarly, peer-reviewed source, you want to do the same thing. You want to list the article, the title. You want to list the author. You want to talk about the writing style and format. You want to talk about how information was given. You want to talk about any questions that were asked by the author. You want to talk about what the author was trying to convey, all the information there. And you also, for this scholarly source, you want to talk about if the research was qualitative or quantitative. Now, qualitative, you know what? Qualitative is going to involve any case studies, any interviews. If you're a creative writing major, if you are a history major, sometimes communication, most of your research will be qualitative. Quantitative is going to involve numbers, data, surveys. Quantitative, think numbers. So anytime you find an article or a research study and it talks about a certain number of people were surveyed to collect data, that is a quantitative study. All right. So excuse me. So once you get all that information, you get all those three done, your last section, you want to compare and contrast the writing style. What was the biggest difference? You also want to talk about the one resource that you found that stood out to you the most. So this is a pretty lengthy paper because it's a lot of information. You have to capture a lot of information. So be sure that you work to find that scholarly source. Most people don't have a problem finding the first two sources because you can get those from anywhere. But what you want to focus on is either going to some database to really focus on getting a peer-reviewed article. Okay? Now, whenever you submit those articles, that assignment, if it's done wrong, I will grade it, but I will offer you the opportunity to resubmit. And this is one of the modules where a lot of people have to resubmit this assignment because they failed to find that peer-reviewed source. So I will help you through the process. Please don't get disheartened if you do it wrong the first time. I'm here to work with you. I promise you, Dr. Willis I'm not going to laugh. I'm not going to demean you in any way because you got it wrong. I'm going to simply say, hey, let's work to find a better article, or let's work on fine-tuning your topic, okay? And that's going to be due Sunday by 11:59 p.m. All right, and this announcement went about 2 minutes longer than I thought it would, so I'll go ahead and end there. If you have questions, concerns, please reach out to me via email, and I'm happy to respond to you. All right, y'all have a great weekend. Bye-bye.